Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Shall We Go On Sinning So That Grace May Increase by the Soft Pink Truth. This is the brand new project of the Soft Pink Truth, aka Drew Daniel, who is mostly known being the one half of the Matmos project. Matmos, for those who don't know, is an experimental electronic project that goes into lots of directions of like IDM and just focusing a lot of just multiple samples with out of the ordinary instruments, mostly with like everyday life objects. On the other hand, when it comes to the solo project of Drew Daniel, we're still talking about some unique and intriguing concepts. However, the direction is definitely much more chaotic and much more aggressive. Take for example the album Why Do the Heathen Rage, which is basically covers of classic black metal songs in electronic music form. The result is definitely bizarre to say the least, as each one of the songs would not give you the impression that it's a black metal cover whatsoever, outside of the fact that they share similar lyrics and that some of the structures might be kind of similar. Other than that, the electronic direction he has taken with this project just goes for a completely different and very obscure result. Also take for example the extremely messy and chaotic Planterphonics project Why Pay More, which basically contains multiple samples from different YouTube videos from back in the day, just with some multiple different search results that ends up being a clusterfuck of lots of different sounds that are combined in a very nice sense. You basically have a more chaotic version of like what Andrew Huang does with some of his stuff on YouTube. And basically this whole idea of just using sampling and manipulating lots of different sounds or everyday objects is something that Matmos especially have embraced a lot with their projects. However, what's the thing with Matmos and lots of their stuff is that most of them, for me at least, would feel sort of limited into some more safe and straightforward directions of electronic music, giving more of an emphasis of just the objects they record and how they record them, because the recordings are impressive and there's definitely a very nice use of sampling to them. But other than that, I still prefer the solo project of Drew Daniel much more, basically because it has this more aggressive and this more chaotic tone to it, which in my opinion makes for some more intriguing and more unique results. So with that being said, I was anticipating a new project from the Soft Pink Truth, but I definitely had no idea what this project was going to be about. And we're talking about an ambient album right there. This is just straight up completely sort of ambient and down-tempo music, which makes it even more chill and even more calm than most of the stuff from the Matmos discography. So this is definitely a big change of pace. And it doesn't seem that there is a very like strong of a concept over here or something quite specific that makes it kind of being different compared to the other works, other than the artistic and the stylistic direction it has taken. The only thing that feels sort of like a concept is for the fact that the titles of each one of the tracks is just one word and it makes for the title of the entire album, which is basically something that has happened a lot of times before. It's not something unique for sure, but the thing is that you would feel that at least this album would feel sort of like a continuous theme, which is something that happens with some occasions, but this is towards the end. as some of the tracks at the beginning, I wouldn't say that they have that much of a continuation, or just that they sort of complement each other that well. And getting into this album, I definitely had expectations for it to sound interesting. However, with the first listen, I was kind of disappointed with the result. I certainly found some very intriguing moments, but that was towards the end of the album, where the tracks show that Grace May Increase would actually have a continuation to them and go as one piece. So, being fairly intrigued by this last portion of the album, as it was definitely the most standout moment out of this entire project, I was just like, okay, I probably wasn't in the right mood for pretty much all of the thing to be enjoyable to me. But the more I listened to this whole project, I just ended up feeling that the first half of this album just got even more disappointing and even more forgettable. When you have the tracks Shall We Go On Sinning, basically it's just so many different ideas that don't complement each other. And the thing is that they don't even get better the more I listen to it. There are definitely some interesting moments to them with some of the samplings, with some of like the female vocals that are kind of presented with tracks like Shal. There are definitely some moments that get a bit more dynamic, where you have some slight beat portions and some more energetic moments, but these certainly come into just really small portions in pretty much all of these tracks. There are definitely some other moments that have a sort of a modern classical tone to them, with some simple piano melodies. There is also the quite chaotic singing, which contains some avant-garde jazz samples here and there. It is definitely really intriguing in some respect. This track also gave me a bit of an impression on what Nicolas Jarre did with his brand new project, with some of the more jazzy and just ambient elements he used. But other than that, pretty much anything the first half of this album had to offer was fairly disappointing to me and not something I would come back to. On the other hand, getting into the tracks so that Grace May Increase, not only it has its more standout moments in terms of sound and delivery, but it definitely has the more tight progression, as each one of the tracks seemingly transitions one from the next, and there are lots of different phases, just sort of like having some similar ideas, but definitely the way that transitions from one position to the next is not abrupt whatsoever. Instead, it's just done with such a smooth approach that you don't even realize it, and it makes for some fairly intriguing moments. With some of its repetitive elements, with some of the piano elements and the very smooth bass lines, it definitely gave me the impression of like a sort of a 90s down-tempo approach. It definitely has some throwback into the old school electronic scene, which is definitely something that I'm all up for it. And there were definitely some very intriguing transitions and some very intriguing elements towards these four tracks. However, even those, upon further listens, they don't have something that really stands out or makes me that wanna come back to them frequently. However, we're definitely talking about a much more cohesive moment compared to anything the album had to offer in the first half. So with that being said, yeah, I was definitely slightly disappointed with the final result of this brand new The Soft Pink Truth album, and that's not because it wasn't as chaotic or as adventurous. I was definitely looking forward for a different direction, and I think in some respects this album has some very nice ambient moments, but as a whole thing I definitely don't see myself coming back to it. It was fun, it has some okay moments, but that's pretty much about it. I'm going to give this album a 6 minus out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.